Good afternoon from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers. I'm heading out to check the garden. It is April 15th, so like right smack in the middle of our early growing season. A lot of things go out in March and April, and then they have like a 45-day span in there where they're just kind of growing and not producing anything. But I want to show y'all what's happening in the garden. So right now I'm in potatoes. I'm going to turn it around in just a second and show you. What I'm going to show you today is everything that we have planted and try to give you kind of a timeline idea of when stuff like this will be ready at market. If you're new to our YouTube channel, we are a small family farm in the East Texas area, and our specialty is local produce. We do not sell anything at our farmers market stand that we don't grow ourselves. Now that means that we have limited availability for some things. It means that during the winter we don't have vegetables. A lot of farm stands, just to be more year-round, they'll stock their farm stands with produce from other areas. They'll go and purchase it, and we do not do that. Everything that we sell is grown here. The vegetables, and we raise the chickens for the eggs, and then I make a whole bunch of homemade jelly. We do not grow the fruit for the jelly. A lot of people ask us that. I make thousands of jars a year, and we just do not have a place to grow that kind of fruit, so we do purchase the fruit, but I make all of the jelly myself. So what I'm showing you today is what is growing in the garden and what will be ready over the next few weeks. And then of course there's still more things to go out as space becomes available in the garden. So we're starting in the potatoes. We have a couple of different sections of potatoes. This field is potatoes. That right there, that strip of grass, is a terrace to keep the water from going down the hill as fast. Right after that is some more potatoes. And then there's one more row that's kind of experimental that I'll show you in a little bit. But the potatoes are looking good. So potatoes go in the ground. Obviously they're growing underneath here. We won't get to see anything exciting for these until we dig them up. That's always a little nerve-wracking. You kind of want to dig it open and check, and you can do that some, but we try not to do that very often. So one thing that I'm looking for out here today is blooms in the potatoes, and I have not seen any in this section. That doesn't mean they're not here, it just means I haven't laid eyes on them. But when they start to bloom on the top, then we know they're starting to form potatoes underneath. But you can see these are looking really good, and we're excited about them. Okay, this is that other chunk of potatoes I told you about. They don't look good on top. I'm hoping they look better underground. You can see how big and beautiful those potato plants are, and then these are really thin. But this is the experimental row that I wanted to show you over here. So this row is planted in black plastic mulch. We use this mulch for several purposes. For one thing, it has drip tape running under it, and so that lets the water go to the roots and stay under there. We don't have to water as often because it's not evaporating off. So this is an experiment. We don't know how well these are going to make potatoes in the plastic. We've never done this before, but the plants look amazing. And there's some of those blooms that I was telling you about right there. They're not open yet. They're just little buds, but that means that they are starting to make potatoes underneath. The next thing I'm going to show you is something a little different. This is not the sort of thing that you normally see at a farm stand. This is wheat, and I'm going to show you that end of the field looks way better than this end. This end got some weeds that got too well established last year, and we have not been able to get them out. So our wheat is not sprayed with anything, just because it is cost prohibitive for us to spray it with anything. But this is ryegrass. This is just a weed. We don't want this out here. This is the wheat. This is the part we want. So you can kind of see the line right through there. This end of the field has a lot of ryegrass in it. We're confident we could still get a decent harvest off of it. We just hate to see the ryegrass in there. It makes it harder to harvest, and then we don't like that ryegrass getting established as a weed out here. Now if I walk over this way, you can really see, yeah, like this is the line right here. You can see the difference. So this is forming heads right now, and Brandon could explain this to you better, but I will do my best. So each of these heads has what looks like kind of individual little baskets on them, and then each of those contain wheat berries. So he comes out here pretty frequently. He cuts these open and he checks and he counts and he sees how much is there. But right now we are just waiting on those little wheat berries to finish developing. And then when we harvest this, we'll sell the wheat berries for people to grind into flour on their own. Okay, right next to the experimental potatoes, we have a row of beets and carrots. We do not normally sell a whole lot of beets and carrots. This is one of those things that we're still kind of learning how to grow. So they're in there. Under this plastic, it's kind of hard to see how they're developing bulbs under there. But again, this is one we're just kind of experimenting with. We're always trying to learn how to grow different things so that we can offer different things. We are considered first-generation vegetable farmers. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit, but right now that is what we're considered, and so we do have to learn a lot of this stuff by trial and error. So here's the carrots. Oh, there's like a little rock or something there. This one is starting to form a carrot there. That one looks like it's forming a carrot. They're getting there. They're not having to compete with weeds in this black plastic. So in addition to the drip tape being under there and the water going straight to their roots, we also have that advantage of not having weeds in them right now. The next thing I want to show you is our sweet peas. Sweet peas take, I think the seed packet says 60 days. I can't remember now what it says. We had planned it out. It was supposed to be that they would start to produce like the same week our market started. And they're a little behind that because of some cold weather for our area, but they're starting to bloom now. There's some blooms there. They've now fallen over. They were doing so good staying upright. There's some more blooms, but the weight of them has finally pulled them over now. And we are actually seeing some peas about like that now. So they're growing, but these are like the little English peas, sweet peas. Some people like to do them whole in salads or stir fries, and then some people like to shell them and eat them that way. So I'm excited about these. We're hoping to be able to sell some of them shelled. We'll see. All right, then we get over here to our gorgeous Starvel onions. If you are unfamiliar with Starvel onions, this is a very similar variety for what they grow for noonday onions or Vidalia onions. And we got tired of people asking us, are those noonday onions? So we started saying they're Starvel onions. Our farm is technically in Starvel, not Winona. So that's what we call them. These are looking good. If I can get my shadow out of the way. They're starting to form bulbs, which is exactly what we want to see them doing now. There's some more. Let me step on this side so I can show you better. Some bulbs down there, looking good. Ooh, look at that one. So these are quite a few more weeks out, probably about a month and a half before we start to harvest. But we have a bunch of them and they are looking really good, so that's exciting. All right, so this chunk of the garden, we've got a bunch of different things happening. Right here we have some cantaloupe. Here we have cantaloupe and, whoops, nope, none of those are cantaloupe. All of those are goatweed. That one might be a cantaloupe. So we need to replant some of these that didn't come up right through this chunk. There's some more cantaloupe right there and there. That row is okra. You can see it starting to pop up. The next row over is green beans. Those are looking good. I have to say I'm dreading picking like 200 feet of green beans at a time. That part sounds miserable. The next row over is going to be cream peas, but those are not doing good. We just had to go back in and replant those. So we'll see if those do any better. I'm trying to get down to this end. Over here we have watermelon. So these are Charleston Gray watermelons, a great big, kind of almost an heirloom variety seeded watermelon. So excited about those. And then we have sweet corn. That strip, it looks like grass right there. Again, right through there. Several rows of sweet corn. I think it was 6 rows total. So that's looking really good. Let you see it a little better. And if all goes to plan, we will have the corn and the watermelons by 4th of July. That's always kind of our goal on that. Okay, this end over here is tomatoes. We put out over 1,000 tomatoes. We do know that we lost a few of them to transplant shock. That's always a risk that we take, always a bit of a concern, but most of them are looking pretty good. So we have, this is our only slicing variety in this row. It's a combination of Mr. Stripey and Striped German. They're very similar, just two different seed companies, two different names for it. Then I think these are Sweet 100. Those are Bumblebee. They're about this big in yellow. And then the last two rows are Chocolate Cherry. They're about this big in purple. So tomatoes are coming. I haven't really been checking them very good. I doubt we've got any buds or anything going on in them because we just put them out a week ago. Maybe a little more than a week. No, less than a week. I get my days mixed up. This end of the field is cucurbits. So all the squashes, and you can see we've got empty holes here. We've got places to come back in and plant more. We just have to kind of decide which ones we want to come in and plant more of. Just looking across here, they're looking good. This chunk right here is pickling cucumbers. So they're a little bit firmer texture, not as great in salads, but they make really great pickles. This row is, I think this end is yellow. No, these are cue balls. So this big, round, yellow zucchini. No, one balls for those, not cue balls. We did not plant any more cue balls this year, I don't think. Those are a white one that are about this big and round. This end is 8-ball, so they'll be round green ones. So we do have some blooms starting to open. Squash has, most plants have a male and a female, but it's really easy to see on the flowers. So the female flower starts with the tiny vegetable and then the bloom, and the male flower will be, let's see if I can find one. Yeah, this dude right here, where you have the bloom but no fruit attached to it, that's going to be the male flower. And so the pollen from both of them are needed by pollinators to create a good fruit. So sometimes those first fruits are a little soft because they don't pollinate good. Not all the blooms are open at the same time. But when we come out here in the morning, I expect to see a bunch of big orange blooms open out here. That part's exciting. This row is zucchinis. This row is patty pans. Oh, y'all, they all look alike right now. Patty pans in this row. That row is zucchini. Green zucchini on this end. Yellow zucchini on that end. This is yellow squash. You can see it's got lots of little tiny baby yellow squashes in there. Got a lot of them going. And then finally another row of patty pan type squash. Then the last thing to show you in the garden, we do not sell a whole lot of peppers at market, but we do use the peppers in our spicy jams. So we've got just a handful of pepper plants on this end just to grow peppers for the jellies. But they are starting to bloom now as well. So there you go. That's the tour. That's the update for April 15th. The garden is looking great. We're really within days or weeks of starting to harvest, depending on what crop it is. I did mention that we're first generation vegetable farmers. So in agriculture, first generation means that you are the first one to do that specific type of agriculture. So we both grew up on like hobby farms. We did vegetable gardens growing up, cows, goats, chickens, whatever. But it was never anything to try to make a living, and this is what we do full time. So we're having to learn how to plant enough and what timing and all of those things for ourselves. There's not another generation ahead of us that's already figured it out, that's passing it down. So Brandon and I are first generation. Our kids are already second generation, and they're helping us with this. So hopefully by the time they're really making big decisions for the farm, we'll have some of this figured out. But that's all we mean when we say first generation. We're not necessarily the first generation to do anything in agriculture. My granddad did hay. Like I say, we grew up on hobby farms. But we are the first ones to try to make a living doing this specific thing. Anyways, thank y'all for stopping by the farm today. I hope you enjoyed your visit. I'm excited about what's coming out of the garden soon. Y'all be sure and tell your friends about our YouTube channel and come back when you can stay longer.